Choip, choip, choip. Choip, choip, choip.
Wow, I had no idea blood was so conductive. Welcome to Rivellon, a land under threat from Source. A kind of magic I believe mostly associated with necromancy. Ooh, serious. It's practiced by sorcerers. Like sorcerers, but with an added U. Less serious. Question mark? The game is kind of a sweeping epic RPG, but that kind of frivolity extends to a great deal of the game. Sure, a lot of RPGs dabble in being facetious or kittenish, but usually those attempts at levity are in a game whose quest feels like it matters. You've probably seen this kind of thing before. The rules at stake, but you've got time. Quickly read these funny headstones. That's classic RPG, really, and I'm actually rather curious as to where that tradition started. But this game doesn't stop there. It, for instance, has bosses with pun names. Even though the game deals in mass death at times, it always felt lighthearted, really. You play as a source hunter or source hunters. You can create two characters that you control, which leads to something quite unique in this genre. You can play split-screen co-op. But what if you have to make a decision, you ask? Well, you both make your case for the route you want to go. And if there's a difference in opinion, then you enact the great equalizer, rock, paper, scissors. Win a round, win some points. If one character has higher charisma than the other, you win more points. First person to 10 wins, and gets to force their will upon the other. A rather clever design, I believe, that still gives choice in a multiplayer setting, without holding up gameplay. Sure, the loser can still be spiteful and refuse to continue playing, but hey, you can't have everything. This is probably the best possible compromise until mind control peripherals are invented. But unfortunately, some decisions have to be unanimous, so they can still get their revenge. Such as refusing to take on a certain companion into the party. Ah, the spirit of multiplayer. But this brilliance does have an issue. It's not controller flexible. Not only do unofficial controllers not work, split screen isn't allowed with an official controller and keyboard combo. That's quite unfortunate. You need two official enough controllers. Two Xbox or two PlayStation. And I don't even know if you can mix and match those. But what if you're playing alone? You just control both of them. But I warn you, do not make the same mistake I did. Give the second character an AI personality. Then they'll make decisions by themselves according to the personality picked. It makes that second character more like a character you're interacting with. It's far preferable to what I did. I picked one of the characters as my main character, did my goody-goody thing or the thing I want to do with them, and let the other character mostly just contradict them, sometimes arbitrarily, and created an odd couple situation. I spent a great deal of time arguing with myself. Once that's sorted, go save the world and all of reality. The story is good if the lighthearted tone does it no favors, in my opinion. Technically, the plot is kind of functional. It's kind of a riff on the whole necromancer wrecking stuff thing. Classic RPG again, but the dialogue is good and the voice acting is extensive. I love regional British accents.
Excuse my friend's violent outbursts. He hasn't enjoyed a woman's touch in quite some time now. It makes him a bit edgy.
Your woman's touch is less of a loving caress and more of a claw shanked brutally through the throat. I'll take my chances as a bachelor, thanks.
Can be quite brilliant, has a lot of feeling, like enunciation in a play. But in all fairness, sometimes it goes panto.
Wow! I was wondering where that awesome sweaty boot smell was coming from. And here you are. Wow! This is great!
Sometimes the voice acting is cute, sometimes funny, and sometimes, especially later on, it actually gets a bit tiresome, because you tend to read faster than they talk. Probably kind of common in RPGs, but yeah, it really dragged on.
This is before the stab. Hush now. Darkness, darling. Hush. Hush. And listen to my tale.
These chatty cafes really made a meal of it, and thus it got easier to skip. But still, it is very good. A lot of effort went into it. Another area of brilliance is the music. It is epic, but in a different way than usual for an RPG. Some tracks are very complex, more dynamic than usual in a way. A lot of instrumental change. Different feel too. Not as boisterous as some Elder Scrolls tracks. You know, the more recognizable orchestral treatment. It's whimsical in a way that doesn't go complete the opposite direction, towards the mischievous or maybe the more mystical. Honestly, it's hard to explain. I'm not much of a music guy. The best description I've managed to come up with is epic, romantic, inspirational whimsy. Dainty yet striking. The best the Ren Fair can get. It feels quite unique, if some of the tracks go closer to traditional, but still they're different enough that you notice. The music is probably the most down-to-business part of the game, and its presence can feel a bit weird. Now we'll actually get on to the gameplay. It's turn-based combat, you have action points and movement points, and you use up those points by magicking and whacking the enemy. Initiative, stats, weapons, abilities, recognizable stuff, and they work well. And on top of that foundation, they place the game's focus of elements. Frost on the floor is slippy, fire is burny, poison is churny, and water is wet. And if Pokemon has taught us anything, it makes electrical attacks stronger. Or at the very least here, it makes things easier to stun. Fire melts ice and makes water, and ignites poisonous gas, as well as oil. It's kind of hard to imagine what this fairly small village, in a high fantasy, medieval-inspired technology period, would need with so much oil. But hey, at the very least it produces a smokescreen for you. Turn some things to ice bombs. Just so elemental mayhem. Don't just kill them. Impede them, guide them into your killing field. The element system doesn't just matter in combat. It also results in obstacles and traps for you to navigate that can, at the very least at times, be a bit annoying to deal with. The elements are also used in solving puzzles. Once again, a lot of RPGs do have the odd puzzle in them, but this game feels as though it has more of them. So many of them that it doesn't just feel like a side quest that offers a change of pace. Instead, it's a key part of the game, attached to main quests. If sometimes they're less a puzzle and more you not noticing a hidden switch. I perused the walkthrough because of that. You gain experience, you do side quests, you level up, enemies don't respawn, so I believe there's a limit to the amount of experience you can earn in the entire game. I reached level 20 and only had a few side quests left. There's an element of random in the gear you pick up from enemies, and the gear does scale up. So I felt it kind of had a weird spot in the market. It's not a loot-a-thon, and it's not really your more classic epic tale deal. It's somewhere between Diablo and Neverwinter Nights, when you think of what kind of RPG it is. But it is big and it is sweeping, definitely worthwhile. And it adheres to one of my favorite RPG traditions. You get a base. Perhaps one of the best of all time, because you're located at the end of time. The game kind of revolves around you collecting star stones, and the more of them you collect, the more amenities become unlocked in this stunning patch of star. So you level up and become stronger, you find stones and gain additions. Sure, you gain access to fairly standard resources, such as a good crafting space, but still, real estate is very exciting. Finally, we have the visuals. It is a beautiful looking game, really. It has an isometric viewpoint that can't be rotated, and sometimes you will see some fantastic plummeting vistas. Pretty places like the stereotypically Mediterranean-inspired Sicile, as well as its less pleasant parts. The stars of the end of time, forest and desert, located in surprising proximity to one another. With views this good, you don't need to rotate. As said, the game is sweeping. It took me 96 hours to complete the game. And it's sort of cheap on Steam. 409 Rand full price, 143 Rand 15 cents on sale. That's 1 Rand 50 per hour of gameplay, which is quite nice. The game does, however, have a large download size, as it takes up 9.96 gigabytes on the hard drive. And I didn't even try it on the Warhorse. I'm pretty sure it would melt. Stereotypically, it's kid-friendly, sort of. There are some stronger moments, such as moments with suggestive humor. Some mild bad language. I think a goblin once says the B word. Plus there was a mission I found quite disturbing, where you have to kill an orc who has killed and tortured a lot of people. The disturbing part is, they thought they were just playing, and that they weren't harming anyone. In all fairness, it is a side mission that you can skip, I believe, but still, it's a companion quest. Some kids can handle it. Lastly, this game does have split-screen co-op, and because it's in this genre, it's a unique example of it. Quite a cool one. But unfortunately, it is not controller flexible, and you'll need two official enough controllers to actually play it split screen. But it offers the opportunity of couch co-op in such a sweeping, beefy RPG, and that is not common. The game has lovely graphics and visuals, and displays some brilliant plummeting vistas. Sure, maybe an area like Hyberheim, with all of its frost, wasn't that pretty. The game has brilliant music, unique and dynamic compositions, feels quite strange compared to the tone of the game. Some might think it belongs to a much more serious beast, but I don't think this detracts from you enjoying listening to the music. The complexity, the loot. The game has good puzzle gameplay and combat, excellently utilizing the elements system, stimulating gameplay. If the traps and obstacles can be a bit annoying. Plus the game has some nice secrets. If sometimes you have to find some obscure switches. But hey, maybe that was my fault. Gave up too easily, went to the walkthrough. The game is extensively voiced over, decent dialogue. They put a lot of variety and effort into the voice acting. At times, the voice actors make a meal of it, and it can get tiresome after a while. And that makes the dialogue easier to skip later on, because it's faster to read than to listen. And while this is a common problem, I feel like it's more prevalent here. And also at times, the voice actors make some strange choices. Doesn't this sound like Smeagol?
Once more, the filth talks, your wagging tongue. I may just roast it whether the totem likes it or not.
On the maybe side, the story is a bit functional. Stop the necromancer, essentially. But the dialogue is extensive and, as said, decent. The atmosphere is by and large whimsical and jokey. Full of levity, I kind of felt it made it hard to care as much. But maybe I have some sort of bias and other people will find this tale more epic. It has the music and gore for an epic tale. On the con side, I really liked this game, but towards the end I felt it ran out of steam, and I kind of rushed to complete it. It is fun, but I have a feeling that a lot of the fun is contained in the multiplayer aspect of it. Having two different players control the two source hunters, and maybe as part of a two-player experience, the atmosphere and everything will come together. And maybe I felt a slight lacking, because I didn't play it in the way it was kind of intended. Maybe I lost out on something that way. Haha, you set yourself on fire. Haha, I set you on fire. That sort of thing. But single player was still fun. Come on, play it. This time I'll end with a tip. Have one of your characters select pet perk from the start. A great deal of fun will be lost if you don't talk to an assortment of animals in this game. Really, it's a grand old time. Listen to the mysterious hints and clues given by Revellon Rats.
Upon the shore below this cave, you'll meet a necromancer grave. Find the sand and take a left. You'll find her if you're very deft.
Choip, choip, choip. Choip, choip, choip.